And with that, I think we're live. Welcome everybody to a very chaotic live stream. Obviously, we're still trying to figure out camera placement. I keep adjusting things, hoping that something will kind of wiggle into the place that we need it to be. Obviously, I'm a little frazzled. I've been working for the past few hours trying to get things cut out, get stuff working. We are working on a ton of different things, but chief among them tonight for this stream in terms of what we'll be crafting. I'm working on some headphones and some other pieces from, I think it's Hero. I think the character's name is Hero from My Hero Academia. I'm really excited because I was provided material for this. This is actually Michael's Art Minds craft foam, and I've really liked it so far. We're able to get some really fun, complex shapes out of this. We're really trying to capture that artistic, cartoony style. So if you're at all interested in that kind of stuff, please stick around. And of course, if you're interested in hearing about some of the build stuff that we've got going on right now, I am working on a second one of these guys, which is actually in pieces right down here, as well as a full extra build of Hunter's helmet from the Bad Batch, which I think is turning out very, very nice. I don't know what else has to be done. This is perfect. So yeah, it's going to be just kind of a fun, crafterly time. Oh, actually, I found this really cool thing. I'll probably show this again later. But so this it's like this tinted face shield that has this really cool blue tint to it, which I wasn't sure I was going to love until I got it inside the Republic Commando, actually, and I discovered that it is just a shockingly beautiful blue. For this kind of stuff. So I might be trying out some heat forming on that, see if we can get something very clean out of that. Anyways, oh, hey Melvin, glad to see you're with us. Fun fact, these headphones and the hand pieces that are going to come with them are going to be the subject of next week's live stream, where we talk about strapping and pinning pieces to undersuits and gloves and whatnot. So we're going to talk about not only magnets, but also some snaps. So these are going to be the subject of that, so stay tuned, because we have thoughts, many thoughts. So this is just going to be kind of a chill crafter time. Obviously, I do quite a bit of sanding on these headphones, but we don't necessarily want to just spend all our time sanding, and especially since I'm removing so much material around the edge of this way and that way, it's better to actually sort of carve it off first. So we'll just kind of take it nice and easy, just sawing our knife in and creating some pretty harsh bevels, sure. But we'll definitely be rounding those over a bit and smoothing them down with our Dremel still, so don't be afraid to take off as much material as you can doing something like this, because the less of this stuff you have to put into the air, the better, frankly. Wow, there we go. Just gingerly sawing that off. I actually have really been enjoying this particular bit, because I think that when you can create shapes that really defy the feeling of sheet material, that's always super cool. Because, like, for instance, forgive me, this is one of the first things I ever made. It's this big, bulky, nonsense chest piece. And you can see there's a lot of just like plates stuck on here. And I don't regret that. I think that was a lot of fun at the time. But I do think it starts to feel like, oh, I had lots of sheet material and I cut those parts out. And they're not bad per se. They just look stuck on because they're a bunch of sheets. Now, with a shape like these headphones, which I'm really excited about, we can definitely get somewhere a little more artful with it by sort of varying the way in which we bevel. Not just different angles, but sort of it determines itself by ending on the side. And I just really love how complex this shape ends up getting. Anytime you can sort of hide the fact that it is ultimately just foam we're working with, I feel like we've reached a success. We really have. Let's see here. Let's go around the top as well. We'll just kind of round all the way through. Nice and gently. Great. And that's a lot of the material that we won't need to sand off anymore. We'll still have to go through and do a lot of hand sanding on this, but I'm quite happy with the way this looks. For this, we'll also be making just some hand pieces that go down there. And I think some of the products that I've seen lacked a little bit of life, shall we say. I think that anime especially demands that our shapes be a little more dynamic. Here, let me see if I can pull up an example of what I mean here. Let's see here. Okay, we're gonna pop over to OBS and we're gonna see how well this works. always an absolute treat to see if we can make this work at all. Let's see, download. Hey, okay. So over here we have like an Amazon product of these headphones, and they're very square and blocky, and like they're colorful, like they would be, you know, in an anime. Come on. And that's not inappropriate, but it does feel like it's a little lackluster. I mean, you can see on that model, it's just sort of stuck on there, and it looks very obtuse in a weird way. Let's see here. Versus in the show, God, this is all over the place. In the show, you can see there's a lot more dynamics to the actual roundness of that there, and that's something I think is going to be really fun. Am I releasing the Bad Batch templates? Not tonight. We're just probably going to be doing some sanding to prep for those pieces. Bad Batch over here and the Republic Commando are both going to be releasing on Tuesday. We are on track for a Tuesday release. I'm very excited about that, actually. So here, let's just hide these images again. So we're probably going to be doing some prep work on that tonight, and we're going to be releasing templates with that as well. Because why not? Actually, I'm really excited because for once, let me see if I got a good example of it here. For once, I have gone through and done some extra bits and bobs to really try and sell the quality of these templates for the Republic Commando. I've actually gone through and drafted some supplementary parts and things that are going to be available for that. So these are extra bits and bobs to really give detail that the Pepakura model just didn't have. And I wasn't going to go through and take all the time to remodel that. It just made more sense to take my hand drafting and turn it into some digital pattern parts that are, you know, optional pieces to make this even more dynamic. Actually, one of the things we'll probably do tonight is prep the dome parts, because you can see on this initial one here, these lines are really clean, and one of the things I love about them is they're not shall we say ground out so much as there is actually a seam down inside this line here, and it's made by taking here. I've actually got parts sort of semi-prepped already by taking these parts and these parts and putting them together, but I rounded both of these edges before putting it together, and that's going to be a big part of this one. So maybe we'll do one of these, and then I'll do the other one on camera. You can see there's a jib behind me that's gonna make that a lot nicer. So we'll probably do that, and then yeah, we'll keep going on the sanding here, and we'll just be detailing stuff and, you know, experimenting. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Good deal of fun. All right, and as always, if people have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. I am here because I like to answer questions. It's a good time for me. With that, our safety equipment firmly applied. Whoop. Uh-oh. That cord was stuck on something. Let's go ahead and do some sanding. No, you're totally fine, Indigo Bricks. I totally get that this isn't a perfectly straightforward and linear chat system. I'm here to talk. It's going to be a good time. There we go. Really trying to sell a flat to rounded sort of gradient here in the sanding. This is actually a stone bit. I really like these stone bits. This one in particular is rounded, so it's really easy to avoid those weird, nasty gouge lines that you get with like a very squared off sanding drum. It's good to run these at a much higher RPM, but the end result is a lot cleaner. There we go. Okay. There we go. So now you can see this is something that I could hypothetically do with my belt sander. I have my belt sander over here, but I actually wanted to do this with the hand drum because one thing I find that the hand drum does a lot better than the belt sander, which will get you those really clean bevels. This is actually more of a rounded shape to it, which I find I'm just better at doing with the hand tool like that. And actually, you can see I think I've even improved since the first one over here. I think that's a lot smoother of a shape. But these are going to be really, really comfy, actually. Because not only are they more like lightweight than, say, a traditional pair of headphones, they're also just super comfy because HD foam is great, but it is nowhere near as like soft and comfortable as Artmines is. And that's not great for everything. I'll freely admit that. But, you know, it's not bad. I mean, the Republic Commando, this is primarily HD foam, 6mm HD foam. But the earpieces here, where you get all that depth, as well as this piece on the back, this is all Artmines. I mean, and you can't really tell. It's not like it suddenly becomes much worse foam, and then abruptly becomes better foam. I think it's pretty cohesive. I think that more than anything, I think that just kind of proves that these products are pretty quality. They're not garbage, you know. They just aren't. Not a bad idea to just swing by a local craft store when you need something, you know. All right, let's hop back in there. Do the other side, rounding off this shape. There we go. Ooh. Here to the end of life, for the toil and strife we rather than undergo. And you don't give a damn when the day is done. How hard the winds do blow. For we're homeward bound from the Arctic surrounds with a good ship taut and free. And we don't give a damn when we drink our rum with the girls of old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, boys rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic surrounds, rolling down to old Maui. The cross of the blood, oh ho, there's some home. The morning girl, we're homeward bound, rolling down to old Maui, boys rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic surround, rolling down to old Maui. There we go. Hey, thanks Indigo Bricks, much appreciated. Yeah, I fully realize that these live streams are not necessarily always the craziest or most out there stuff, but I think that they're great for when we get to sort of inform some of the larger content. I mean, indeed, when people talk about the Republic Commando or need help or guidance on that, I tend to refer people back to, when I sit down to do streams like this. Now, as we're kind of going through and doing stuff, I'd actually really love to see if it's possible to bend this out a little bit. It's kind of a cheap visor. I don't know if the tint's going to like that, but I'd like to try. Let's see what happens when I apply just a little bit of heat to it here. See where it lets us go. Oh, I bid farewell to the port and the land, and I paddled away from brave England's white sands, to seek for my long-away forgotten friends, to seek for the place I hear all sailors end, as the souls of the dead fill the space of my eyes. You're my mind, I'll search without sleeping till peace I can find. I fear not the weather, I fear not the sea. I remember the fallen, do they think of me? Where the bones in the ocean forever will be. Kilometers through the night to the darkest abyss. Ooh, that's hot. Hot, hot, hot. Come on. Straighten out. Oh god. This might not be straightenable. Oh, that's such a shame. This is such a perfect color for this. I don't know, does anybody out there have a really good source for tinted visors? I know you can tint your own visors, but it's super easy to be able to just plop something down or cut something out. Like a good product for that. Because the stuff that I use for most of my visors, like the stuff I used for my Rex visor, it's great. It's really easy to cut, but it's got a green undertone instead of a blue undertone, so I can't add lights to that for Republic Commando. It won't look right. Oh, hey, Elmercator. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Hot. Ugh, come on. Come on. Straighten back out. I don't need you as rounded as you are. Oh, God. I think this is a thermoformed visor too, which means that at one point this was really flat and beautiful for what I wanted to do with it. And that also is a bummer because it also means I know conceptually this should kind of work. But I might need to apply way more heat, way more aggressively than I want to in order to do it. Oh, God. Oh, I don't want to break it. It's nice. Like, it is nice. And oh, God, that's hot. I wound up picking it up off Amazon. I found a place, because I was just trying to find visors like what I was working with, but blue. And I wound up finding this, and I took a chance on it. It might not have been good odds. Sorry, I'm actually trying to bend it against my chest. Yeah, no, I got it off Amazon, and you know, if it had worked, I would have put it in the, God damn, that's hot. Sorry. If it had worked, I would have put it in like the description for the Republic Commando, because I like people to be able to buy/use the exact things that I use. I think it's really nice and convenient when I can make that happen. Yeah, I just don't think that's gonna work, which sucks because it's a beautiful color. Like that is gorgeous and just the weirdest shape. And like I showed off before, this thing is the perfect tint for that. I really like it. And I suppose it could still sort of kind of just go in there. You know, it'll bend away from it a little bit. Wouldn't fog up that way. I mean, if I perform the delicate task of trying to put this on my head. You know, like this isn't the worst thing. It's pretty cool actually. But it's also not like a perfect visor. I think it might be a pretty good option for like more generalized cosplay because, you know, I can see out of this really well. Which is, I think, the nicest part. I'd probably glue it up there so that you can't see my mouth at all through here. But would be really nice if it would just fit and I could just glue it in place right. The search for life intelligent continues. That's okay. Here, let's quick heat form this other ear cup real quick. Because I just want these sanded bits to really smooth down. This is one other advantage I find with the Art Minds foam, which is, again, not a dig on HD foam. It's nice. The quality of density is great, but having kind of soft foam means that for really thick parts, like these ear cups, it's pretty easy to heat form them because you can get them to the desired shape a lot easier. And then heating them up gets you that supple curve a lot quicker. There we go. Whew. Whew. You know what? I might still throw the link to these visors in the chat just because this stuff was really cool. I like the tint on it a lot. I wish it was. Oh god, it went up in price. It was like $15 when I got it. Now it's like 20. That's crazy. I don't know what that's about. But this is the visor. I like it. Yeah, but here we are. Two ear cups for Hero. Oh, that'll be great. I'm actually planning on so it's worth noting that even when you're doing cosplay, you're doing very custom and creative, artful sort of cartoon characters, it's worth noting that you don't need to reinvent the wheel all the time. So I'm going to be dropping by my local Five Below and shall we say rescuing parts from a cheap pair of headphones because it'll be so much easier to modify and add padding from those which are already sort of, designed to go on your head, rather than completely constructing this from foam, which I could do, but it's not economical. It would take a ton of extra time, Pretty fun. Oh yeah, no, I'd love to talk about that. So this is actually something I've been thinking about a lot lately, because I've been scripting out a basic series, one of which is a full description of lots of different kinds of foam and most of the different kinds of foam that I use. So Harbor Freight mats, which are basically these types of foam mats here, are oh god. They're sold as things not only to make you a little more comfortable in your shop, to, help reduce back and joint pain, but also to help keep your floors good and clear. And the ratio of EVA, or ethylene vinyl acetate, there we go, in this is slightly higher than something like Art Minds foam, which comes in these rolls. So there's the big difference right there in terms of the function of it. This is not designed to use for cosplay, but it makes good cosplay. Whereas this is designed for cosplay, and it makes good cosplay. It also comes in much larger sheets, so you can get longer, bigger parts onto it, which is just something to keep in mind. This stuff it's a lot tougher to heat form, but if you can get it to heat form, it'll stay in those shapes a lot better over time. Here, in fact, I'll cut off a piece and kind of show you what I mean. I feel comfortable sacrificing this piece to the cos gods here. It also has these fun puzzle edges that are just a hoot to have around, frankly. I will say you end up producing a lot more waste with these, I think, because it's hard to get everything into one piece. And it's also really hard to find anything to do with these puzzle bits that don't just look like you stuck puzzle bits onto something. But I'll show you what I mean. We're going to heat this thing up really, really hot. Because it's a lot thicker and a lot denser, so it absorbs and insulates a lot better than other foam. Which I will say, to some degree, might make it hotter for cosplay, which is not great. But there you are. There we go. Alright, so we've heated the crap out of this thing now. It's pretty pliable. Let's get a pretty harsh curve in this thing. Try and give it as fun a curve as we can give it. Make it a nice tight bend. I know William Shakespeare over on his channel talks about this a lot. He'll actually, for really tight curves, he'll put things like in jars or inside of other round things to really overbend it like this. And we'll do that right here. Just stick it in some tape. There we are. Get a nice tight curve on that. We'll set that aside, let it cool. Or actually, I finally went out and got some more. I went out and got some more compressed air, which is great for heat forming stuff that has really intense properties like this, because you can just cool it right back down again. We'll just kind of, whoops, tear off tab. There we go. Cool that right down. There we go. You use foam from Home Depot, and those are tougher to heat form than Harbor Freight and more expensive. Yeah, that's because arguably they're more quality mats. But see what I mean about this thing holding a really tight shape, and it doesn't want to come out of it. It springs back really well. And in fact, if I were to do this one more time through, just give it a quick heat up. And then cool it right back down again. Yeah, that's not going anywhere now. Of course, I just got some of the spray on there. EVA, ethylene vinyl acetate, is an additive in many foams, which is just good to know chemically. EVA is also it's an additive in a lot of different things. It's described in the ratios as being a ratio between ethylene vinyl. Ratios. I forget. Hang on. Now I'm getting my wires crossed because I've been doing this research over and over again for the last week, 2 weeks here. It's ethylene to vinyl acetate, my bad. And the ethylene is generally what we see as making up what the remainder. It's a ratio of the two. So however much vinyl acetate is in it, the remaining ratio is described as being ethylene. So in the context of EVA foam, it rests somewhere in the neighborhood of I want to say 20 to 40%. Anything from about 11 to 40% vinyl acetate is considered a thermoplastic, including hot glue. Hot glue is an ethylene vinyl acetate copolymer. So this stuff and this stuff are fundamentally sort of the same thing chemically, even though they're created in different ways and don't possess quite the same properties, although they are both thermoplastics, if you will. So I believe, if I understand correctly, these mats have a much higher proportion of EVA, not to mention a bunch of other things that makes them a lot denser. Whereas something like Art Mind's foam, it's a lot lower. It's also just not as dense generally. I want to say that SKS Props mentioned his actual ratio is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 30%. I would be interested to hear from him, like, the chemical makeup of his foam comparatively, just because I think that's a super interesting thing. But these mats are just generally tougher. They're also galvanized in special ways. So, for instance, they have this texture on the back of them. There's the whole mat. They've got texture on the back, and the way you create this texture is actually just by melting it. This is essentially stamped into the back of it, not with pressure, but with like a hot plate that creates this texture. Well, it's probably not stamped so much as rolled through as they sort of extrude it. And so this is both a useful product for creating, friction and whatnot. It's a cool texture, but it's also just sort of a byproduct of the manufacturing process for this. There's nothing wrong with these mats. They're really cool, and obviously I've used them in the past to great effect. Recently, even my Cylon build, the faceplate, just because I didn't have enough foam on hand, I pulled one of these mats because I wanted to do the faceplate in one contiguous piece. And that worked out super well. And that was a super smooth, shiny build. I mean, this foam, despite not being the quality that necessarily I'm used to now in terms of making cosplay is still really great for this kind of stuff. So don't count this stuff out. It's super fun. If there's any more questions I can answer about that, please feel free to ask. I will do my best to answer them. For now, I'm going to kick back and do a little bit more sanding on those over the top of the head pieces for the Republic, the second Republic Commando helmet here. I'm taking very little material off this time, so I'm not going to spend the time to put my mask off. I'm basically just quickly rounding over these edges. There we go. Away, haul away, Joe. Away, haul away, we'll haul away together. Away, haul away, away, haul away, we'll put back to weather. Away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. You call yourself the second mate, you can't tie a bowling. Away, haul away. There we go. There's one side, this nice round shape, and I'll emphasize that with some heat here. Just kind of smooth that down and over. And also just kind of flatten this out. There we go. This is one of the reasons I like having a nice thick like solid piece of workbench, because they tend to stay pretty cool unless you're really heating them up a lot, and they're great for flattening out pieces like this. You can see I've actually got a nice sort of soft rounded edge just there all the way across. And now when I do the same on this one, you can already kind of see when you put them together flat, you start to get that subtle separation that makes for a really, really sharp detail there. There we go. Heat this guy up as well. Ironically, this is something I wind up having to do a lot when heat forming my stuff, is I wind up having to heat form it flat and then reintroduce new curves into it so that I can get all my detail lines in there. Because, of course, for the Republic Commando, I did make these lines across here by abutting two rounded edges. But for this line across here, I did just grind that in essentially in the same way, but in the middle of this piece right here. So, you know, you kind of have to get all those lines sort of drafted onto these pieces. But now you can actually see pretty well that the line that it creates in between these two curves that are just sort of bowed slightly into each other is really pretty, and it's very easy to achieve very clean lines in this way. Plus, it's still broken up enough to create a very clean overall dome shape. You know, this is still like a very accurate and smooth dome going across here. And like I said, it's nice when you're able to merge the sense of cleanliness, ease of use of the templates, and just really sharp looking details. That's what it's all about, folks. Gosh, I'm really feeling the tired today, folks. We might wind up closing up on this a little early, but I want to thank everybody for popping out here. This has been really fun. I'm probably gonna go relax because I've been working on this stuff on and off for the past 4 hours or so, 5 hours, and I am just exhausted. Thanks so much for coming out. As always, if you have any more questions, feel free to check us out over on our Discord. There's a link down below for that. And I'm going to be dropping some extra bonus templates down below, so check out the doobly-doo for that. But for now, I have been Jaden. I want to thank you all so much for coming out to the stream. And as always, please take care.